Oh, 1 minute, right on. All right, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of The Left Wing Live. Joined, of course, by John, Counterpoint Politics, and special guest today, Superman Todd. How you doing today, my friend?
Hey, doing great. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, we love the military vets, or your current service, actually. So even better. We love having the green represented here. It's fantastic. And hey, it's not one of our topics, but I mean, we're kind of tangential. But we have two vets running for office now, both for VP. Actually, how about that? What are your thoughts? Who you backing here? Are you team Vance or team Walz? Just out of curiosity, before we get started here.
Man, I think it's pretty obvious. I'm Team Walz, and I don't think there's a political attack that has made me more infuriated of recently that infuriates me more than the attempted attack on Tim Walz's service in the Minnesota National Guard. You know, this whole, well, he wasn't a real sergeant major. He got demoted as soon as he retired, and he's pretending to do X, Y, Z, and man, it's just even worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, it's like, oh, this dirtbag was just a first sergeant in the National Guard.
Yeah. I don't know about you. Sorry, John. This is like an inside baseball here, military shit or whatever. I remember talking to an old chief in one of my units at Fort Bragg. And he had this long speech that he would always give about the rank he actually respects the least is Sergeant Major. He would always talk about that. He's like, because the way he sees it, that you stick around that long, it's because you really love the military. There's something wrong with you. You love the military that much. So you stick around, become a Sergeant Major, you stick around for that. And I always got a kick out of that. But yeah, I mean, Walt's serving in the position of a sergeant major. Yeah, he's a sergeant major. That's it. That's how that shit works. I don't give a shit if like what his DD 214 says. Yeah, that's what he actually did in the service. And here's the thing. No one actually gives a fuck. No one actually gives a fuck. Cares. Nobody at all. It's wild that they're making this their hill to die on when it's not going to lose him one single vote.
Have you seen the guy who's like the CSM who is like signed this letter and is like the mouthpiece of this whole narrative that Tim Walz abandoned?
No, I haven't seen that guy. No,
his name's like I can't remember what it is, but his Facebook is open. Like literally, this guy's Facebook page you could go to right now, and he posts public posts, and all of his posts are just a bunch of MAGA brain rot. All the way back for years. And so the GOP hasn't even went to this guy and said, hey, clean your Facebook up, or at least set it to private to make it look like you're not just a MAGA troll. But yeah.
Disappointing.
And my argument for the Sergeant Major thing is in World War II, the biggest war we ever fought, there was no such thing as the rank of Sergeant Major. From 1930 something to 1950 something, they got rid of it.
Really? I didn't know that.
There was no Sergeant Major in the entire Army from 1930 something to 1950 something. Yeah. World War II, the top enlisted rank was Master Sergeant.
That's weird. Huh. That's odd. I didn't know that. Well, that's something I learned new every day. John, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. TJ. I don't really care what his military rank was because he's achieved the highest rank you can in America, and that is coach. So that's it is much ado about nothing, and it is really funny to see this coming from the party who's supporting Mr. I prefer the ones that weren't captured, Donald Trump. Talking about disrespect to military service. Like, it's every attack. We've said this for a long time, how like every accusation is an admission, which I don't really like that phrase because it's not very true. Because
we accuse people of shit all the time.
Yeah, exactly. But when it comes to the Republican Party attack lines on Tim Walz and Kamala Harris specifically, it is either A, something Trump does worse, or B, they're calling it communism when it isn't communism. Those are the only two attack lines they seem to have on these guys, and they're not working. And we can see that very clearly in the polls and the panic that Republicans are having. We can see that because Donald Trump went back on Twitter. That is how I know that his campaign is in trouble, because he like just completely swallowed his pride and went back on Twitter, which is not something Donald Trump does very often.
Yeah, and that's gonna tank. Like, the whole reason he did Truth Social was to make money, right? I mean, that's what we were all tracking, that he just did this to, fleece people out of their money for the stock prices. But now he's tanked the stock price for Truth Social. I guess he figured it wouldn't be worth anything if he loses, or a lot less if he loses. So it's a gamble, and it's not going to pay off. Because I mean, like yesterday, I don't know about you, Todd, but we were talking that I think it's going to be a massacre in November. I'd be sure anything could happen. But I wouldn't be shocked, like 270 or 300. Like I wouldn't be shocked if it was like 300. It looks pretty rough out there, and it keeps getting worse. In fact, John, which topic do you want to cover first? Because this kind of goes into one of them. But
yeah, there are a couple. I want to get on my soapbox and talk about something that is completely irrelevant to anything else.
Let's go. Yeah, we can save this for later.
So, but before I get to that, let me introduce the topics to our audience. So we're going to be today talking about the DNC and, more so its comparison to the RNC, and talking about the differences between these two parties right now and how that's been very clearly expressed in their conventions. We will also be talking about, TJ wanted to talk about Project 2025 and discuss whether or not it's all that special, or is it just Republicans actually just saying what they've always wanted to accomplish. We'll also be talking about Disney going full South Park human centipede on a man who lost his wife because they served her food she was allergic to, and they tried to move the case to arbitration because he signed up for Disney Plus. And then our fourth topic is Kamala Harris's housing proposal, which sounds a lot more boring than the other topics, and it is, but I did want to talk about it because it's really freaking cool. But before I do that, I need to get on my soapbox, because I had a post today, and it might actually transition us quite nicely into the convention topic, because I'm sure everyone has at least seen posts now about about Waltz's son, and I love that moment. There's very few moments in politics that you're like, this is a genuine human emotion, and that was genuine human emotion, and it was wonderful. Republicans have been attacking it for God knows why, because they just hate life and joy. But I made a post about it, and I called him special needs. Apparently, special needs is not the word, and we're supposed to say disabled now, which I had people in my threads, and again, I want to make it clear, I'm special needs. I had special needs counselors growing up through school. I always did well, but I have autism, I have ADHD. Like I needed, certain special helps. I was special needs. And they're like, you shouldn't say special needs. That's disrespectful. You should say disabled. And I'm like, fuck you. I'm not disabled. like I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I don't identify as disabled. Don't tell me I'm an asshole. We're referring to my group of people the way I was taught to refer to them as. That was my soapbox. And more so, just like, that's the weirdness on the left. We talk the weirdness is right a lot. But if you get upset about people saying something that was correct 4 fucking years ago, I'm sorry, that's weird. It's weird, especially when it's not blatantly obvious that it's incorrect. That was my soapbox, DJ. I just wanted to get on it because people pissed me off today.
Well, the thing with that is it's weird until it's not. That's just how, it's everything is gradual. Like, calling black people Negro was cool one year, and then one year it wasn't. And then after a while, it just kind of faded away. And then Superman Todd, John and I were talking about this a while ago. So, you know how you can tell someone's racist when they refer to blacks, instead of black people?
Yeah.
It wasn't always that way. I mean, I was talking about how, you'll still see news reporters saying it because it was just a common way to refer to, the black population. Like you said whites, you said blacks, people still say Asians, and they still say Hispanics or Latinos. They still say that. And so the argument that it's like, well, that's dehumanizing people. I mean, yeah, it could be, but really that's just how people talked until very recently, because certain folk kept saying it, and it developed a racist connotation. That's just, how things evolve over time. It's kind of, the example I gave to John is how I don't say Jews. I don't say it.
Yeah.
I don't like how it sounds, you know. And although there's technically it's true, it's right, but it's a correct term. But the nomenclature evolves, and it's interesting what you're talking about. But I hadn't heard this, that you don't say special needs anymore. And because I remember
they
that
might be blowing smoke, TJ. I might be the victim of a.
I don't know,
because it's the weirdest thing I ever heard. Because to me, special needs is just like you have special needs, like you have the special dietary needs, you have special educational needs, like that makes sense. Disabled, I don't think people with autism are disabled. Like there's not, like some of them definitely are, but like you're just average kid with autism can do everything that everyone else can. It just he has some special needs. Like it's weird.
The accuracy of the word isn't all that important, though, right? I mean, if you think about it, because it's like idiot was a medical term, and moron was a medical term, and so and so now you can't be like, oh, an idiot. I'm just saying that's just so. But once again, I'm not defending the folks. I'm saying that these things do change, and it's weird until it isn't. And I'm glad I caught this, so I might look into this.
The distinction here is it's weird until it isn't, but it's weird if you get like personally upset about it, and it's not past the point where it's obvious. Like at this point, it's clearly, blacks is something that weird people say. Like no normal people say that. It's always a dog whistle.
It's weird how this stuff evolves. It's so weird, so wild how quickly those things can evolve and change over time. I feel like it's Camp Atterbury, Indiana. There's like this old boys' home that's still there, that still has a sign out front that says the Indiana State Home for Retarded Boys. Like,
oh, really?
It's like this stuff it's always changing. And I've got a son who's on the spectrum. I've never heard special needs is a bad thing. I feel like I'm pretty plugged into those types of things. And, one day you're okay, and then the next day it's like, hey, you dummy, what are you saying that for? Like, oh, I missed that memorandum. I don't know.
And a lot of it is the way I see it too, is a lot of it is if someone's going to say something like that, a lot of it is in the spirit in which it's intended, because John is right. Fucking lefties and liberals can be insufferable with this shit. Like they can really just jump down your throat. It's like, okay, I didn't know. I wasn't aware of it. But if they don't just say that, hey, that's just not the preferred term. It's like, listen, motherfucker, that is not the correct. Okay, I didn't know. All right. And I can see that happening. But yeah, it is pretty interesting to see that. I had something to say, but I lost it. But what's that could have been? Oh, well, I was going to mention I'm not far from Atterbury. I'm only like 40 minutes away, but I've been there a couple of times. I never noticed that. I'll definitely have to check that out. I like that there's a prison in Atterbury. There's that tiny little prison for. Did you ever see that? Have you ever been there? You can see them like.
Is it where they kept the POWs, the German POWs back in the day?
Yes, I think that's true. Yeah, they kept folks there, but there's still a prison there. If a tiny little one, you see the people out there.
Our Atterbury-based audience is losing their minds right now.
They can't wait to more about Camp Atterbury. This tiny little camp.
Speaking of the DNC, that was one of Obama's. Like, I genuinely laughed when he mentioned like some small town in Wisconsin, and people cheered, and he was like, "Ain't no way that many people are from this small town." And I was like, that's genuinely funny.
So I guess that we'll just go into the DNC one then. Now, what I have been like before the show started, or right when the show started, we were talking about how a lot of creators we know are at the Democratic National Convention, like a bunch of them, like dozens probably, that I'm familiar with and seeing them out there. And it's pretty cool. But I would have never thought I wanted to go to, like, I'm kind of kicking myself for not applying for a press credential to get there, because it looks fun as shit. And we, one thing that John and I have been talking about the last couple of weeks is you can't build a movement on cynicism, or you can only do it for so long. Like it doesn't really, it doesn't galvanize and motivate people to go out there and support you and your cause. And the Republicans, they've not necessarily built it on cynicism as much as they built it on just rage and ire and bigotry, and like open bigotry, holding up signs saying, mass deportation now, which if you're not already on board with mass deportation, you're not going to loop anyone in with that kind of message. And then not only seeing the Democrats adopt, something we've been saying for a long time, that you got to adopt this hokey, USA shit and, chanting God bless America and all that, because it gets people don't want to think they live in a piece of garbage country. They don't want to think that. Like, people actually want an aspirational message, which is why I mentioned that Jimmy Carter was a better person than Ronald Reagan by, light years, but Reagan understood messaging a lot better. That whenever the economy started to contract in the 70s and we had stagflation and we had, rising energy costs and people couldn't afford to heat their homes, Jimmy Carter went out there and said, okay, folks, you need to put on a sweater, you need to tighten your belts and have fiscal responsibility. Ronald Reagan said, fuck that. We're the greatest nation in the world. We're going to charge through this. And that's what you're supposed to do as a leader. You got to get those messages across. And the Democrats are actually doing it. And they're actually having a fucking blast. And not only are they having a good time, but they're conveying genuine emotion. Like we were just talking about with Tim Walz and his son, that, that moment where his son stood up and was saying, like, that's my dad. And he was crying and everything. And it showed his daughter. And you were talking, John, you were talking about Republicans are shitting on it. I know one Republican who wasn't. I don't know if you saw.
No.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to pull this up right here. Ben Shapiro posted that image or the video with the caption, "This is really quite nice." Now, right? Right? Yeah. Because now listen, we've always said Ben Shapiro is the brightest of the conservative media sphere. That's the right response. It is. Like, people totally talking shit about like Ann Coulter and everything. It makes you look psychotic. Yeah, go ahead, Sarton.
I'm like, that's one of those moments that, which again, the Republicans suck at their messaging, and they've really kind of, I guess, decided they don't really want any new people on board. They just want to run to November with their MAGA cult and try to win with just that. But that's one of those moments that if you can't even get on board with this kid, just in a real moment, being happy that his dad, the football coach, is having this moment running for vice president, how are you supposed to win people who aren't crazy? Like, how's a person who's not crazy and psychotic supposed to see you taking a dump on this kid and think, yeah, I want to be part of that?
Mm-hmm.
It literally is like when people on the left, and by the left I really mean like liberal moderates here, were trying to make the case that Joe Biden wasn't clearly obviously deteriorating before our eyes and it was actually with it, and I was just like, you can't believe the words that you are saying. You must know deep down that what you're saying is insane. It is verifiably untrue just by looking at it. I feel like Republicans must feel the same way about the people on the right who are attacking this kid for, honestly, one of the most genuine displays of emotion in politics that I have ever seen. It was real. It was moving. If a Republican if the same thing had happened with J.D. Vance's kid, I would have been like, oh, well, that's nice. Like I would have. I genuinely would have. But these people, as you kind of said, it's a platform based on hate. It's based on opposition. They don't have a position of their own. They just hate everyone else. And
they just don't have that. Have we ever seen one of Trump's kids for 1 second be emotional or seem like they even like him at any point in time, other than, I'm sure they like him whenever it's time for him to break the checkbook open, but is there, you see these videos of him and the youngest kid on the golf course, the kid looks like he doesn't want to be there. Like, and I'm not trying to take a shit on him and his kids, but they've never had a moment like that. There's never been a moment where everybody goes, oh, look how much love they have for one another.
Well, that's the thing, Todd. Like, because I commented on this and I had people like oh, the left shits on Barron. I'm like, first of all, no, the left doesn't shit on Barron. The one thing I've heard people make fun of Barron is he looks kind of weird, which is just true. He does look kind of weird.
I haven't even heard that, honestly. I haven't heard that even.
That's the only negative thing I've heard about Barron. Doesn't say shit. He just kind of there and is an oddly tall and pale human being. Like that. That is the most I've ever heard bad said about him, which is true. But the thing is, with the Tim Walz's son thing, the attack isn't even true. Like, it's clear and obvious that this kid was genuinely excited and proud of his dad. And that is a nice thing. It was genuine love and emotion being displayed. And talking about juxtaposition to the Republican Party, I couldn't help but think of when Melania got on stage and wouldn't even kiss Donald Trump. And it's like, one party is ostensibly the party of family values, but where the fuck is that gone? Because if I'm just doing the eye test here, the party whose family loves them more is clearly the Democrats right now. It's not. I don't think anyone in their right mind, but even the most diehard MAGA Republican, would make the case that Donald Trump's family loves him more than Tim Walz and Kamala's family does, because it's so clearly just untrue.
Yeah. It's kind of. It's like you read Machiavelli, and in The Prince, he talks about if it's more important to be loved or feared. And of course, Machiavelli falls on feared is more important. You'd want to be loved, but if you had to pick one or the other, you should pick feared. And it seems like Trump has gone down that road. Like, Donald Trump's kids fear him. They fear him, and they have no choice but to respect him, and they want to earn his respect that he's not going to give them. And to be fair, if I were Trump, I wouldn't either. I mean, the boys at least are just a complete disaster, right? Ivanka can at least hold down a decent job, it seems like. And
Ivanka's
the kids
fucked off though.
She's not
Ivanka
here.
was the one competent good one.
Yep, the one competent kid he had didn't stick around for the second run. Yeah,
which is another just indication to me of like, there is something much more wrong and much more just, and we'll get it with Project 2025. Like, this Trump term is different than the first Trump term. He's not trying to do the same things. And it's very clear and obvious from everyone who was around him during term one, not being around him for term two. Not a single one of them, besides some of his biological children and Ted Cruz. That's it.
Oh, yeah. What do you think about that,
Todd? Yeah, I'm the same. I feel the same way, and I'm sure everybody does too. The second Trump term, how could it be more tumultuous than the first? But it's gonna be, right? Like, who does he get for these cabinet positions that, he fired 2 or 3 people in the first term? I mean, you got all these people getting up at the DNC, Republicans, who backed him all the way up till the final hour, which, I don't know, has that ever been done? Has there ever been anything like that at a party's convention where people who were like in the circle of trust of the person who's running from the other party comes to speak against them? Which I get that nobody's ever really ran for president who already was president previously, other than Grover Cleveland, and we didn't have the internet at that time. So, whether or not anything like that happened, but I don't see how Republicans can watch this DNC and see those types of unprecedented things happen and not have a light bulb moment of like, oh shit, his top people who he picked as being the top people, the smartest, the smartest people, are up there taking a shit on him, saying that he can't be the president again. How's that not wake some people up? I don't get it.
Yeah, he had 44 people serve in total in his cabinet, and 40 of them refused to endorse him. He doesn't have the endorsement of a single former Republican president. His former vice president is not supporting him for pretty clear, obvious reasons. I can imagine. And not only is it just a complete shit show on the Trump side, but the Republicans at the RNC and Ford, they have tried their best to formulate some sort of plan. I mean, saying tried their best is giving them too much credit. It's like they're barely trying at all when it comes to attacking Walz and Harris. And I got a couple of clips here. This one is from Andrew Klavan, who's the least talented of the Daily Wire crew, which is really saying something. And he's talking about how Harris is, I think he mentions that like she's like this is a feminine campaign that she's making. And let's see what he says here. This is the brilliant words of Mr. Klavan.
Now, last week I talked about the fact that this is a very male-female race. And we're not supposed to talk about that because obviously their male and females are exactly the same. In fact, you can change them out and swap them out. They're so much the same. But here we're not going to lie, so we're going to say this is a male-female race. Trump is a studly guy to the point where he exemplifies both the good and the bad of manhood. He can get.
I saw the eye roll there. Trump's the studly guy. I just want to point that out.
A little bit over the top sometimes, and sometimes he just has that incredible courage that he displayed when he was shot at, and when he was shot, actually, I should say, and also when he went before the black journalist, which was not quite as bad, but also dangerous. And Kamala has the womanish traits of being a cackling, irrational, and venomous serpent without the womanly traits of grace, generosity, and tenderness. We miss those in her. But those womanish.
All right, who wants to go first? Who wants to go first here? I go after this. Like we'll go with Todd. He's go ahead, John.
I was just gonna say this is irrelevant to what he said. And Todd, I'm gonna throw to you to comment on what he actually said. But why can't the Daily Wire afford a fucking teleprompter? Why does each and every one of them have a goddamn laptop in front of them that they look down to read off of instead of just having a teleprompter? They can afford it. I know they can. They get millions of dollars. Anyway, go ahead, Todd. What did you think about what he actually said?
I can't wrap my head around where we went in this country where there is a big enough audience to even watch that crap, to even put it out there. Like, I feel like even 10, 12 years ago, if you'd have put that out as some sort of product and tried to make it look like news of some sort, there would not be an audience who would buy it. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but certainly 20 years ago, that would have not a big enough audience to even put that out there. I can't imagine the whole idea that Donald Trump is a manly man. Even when you try to measure masculinity by the toxic masculine checklist guidelines that toxic males try to put in place to measure masculinity, he's nowhere on that scale that would even come close to being called masculine. The guy's never done a masculine thing in his life. I mean, he's got bone spurs. He had an opportunity to go to war in Vietnam. You know, every generation of masculine men end up going, oh, this is our chance to go to war. He had his chance. He didn't do it. He doesn't, Tim Walz hunts, fishes. Donald Trump's never went fishing in his life. He's never went hunting in his life. Probably never shot a gun in his life. Probably never set foot in a gym. Probably never lifted a weight. Not that any of these things are masculine things, but if you're a person who believes in this BS of there are masculine guidelines, check off lists that you got to check off to be masculine, he in no way checks any of those marks.
Something I'm just thinking of here is that, my God, these people need to drop Trump because he really is just an antithesis to every argument they make. Because you can make the argument that guy is making. You can make the alpha male fucking argument. It's bullshit. And we can argue it on its merits because it has none. But we don't need to. Because all we have to do is go, you're voting for that guy. You can't possibly. Honestly, I feel like if you were to just knee-jerk reaction, I would say Kamala Harris is a more masculine person than Donald fucking Trump is. And honestly, she seems tougher. She's a fucking DA. She's hard as nails as shit. Like, Donald Trump is a pampered fucking rich kid who none of these conservative values apply to Donald Trump. The only thing that made them like him is because he didn't speak the politician speak and did all the racist dog whistles. That's it. And then they try and attach all of these other parts of their ideology to him, and it doesn't make it not that it ever made sense, but it's not even internally coherent anymore. They're just lying through their teeth. I honestly feel a little bit bad for them because it's how I felt with Biden. It was like, yeah, no, I hate that I'm voting for Biden. But yeah, you're totally right that he's too old to be president. I'm going to vote for him anyway. But yeah, you're right, Republicans. He's way too old. And I wish Republicans would at least fucking do that. I wish they'd be like, yeah, well, if they were just like, yeah, but we don't want Kamala's policy, but we're also going to pretend like Donald Trump is this alpha male leader when he clearly is not.
So the thing with Republicans, and I don't know if they're lying when they say Trump is this alpha male, and obviously they're incorrect, but you got to keep in mind they're incredibly fucking stupid. You have to keep that in mind. That is an important variable in this conversation, because Trump, yes, we're correct here. Trump is like one of the least masculine presenting people I can think of. Like Donald Trump is what, 78 years
78.
old.
Freddie Mercury presents more masculine.
Freddie Mercury is shitload more masculine. Yeah, Donald Trump is 78 years old and has platinum blonde hair. First off, okay, I don't know too many 78-year-old dudes with platinum blonde hair.
Spray tan.
Yeah, we wears makeup. He's spray tanned. His hair is this weird, expertly coiffed. Like it takes a lot of work to make your hair look that bad. He wears a girdle. He wears like heels and lifts and shit like that. He's became famous before his public bitch fest and spats with daytime television hosts. It's some of the least masculine shit you could possibly imagine. However, like Todd mentioned, he has found out that, being a bully is seen as a real masculine trait, a real tough guy trait. Doesn't matter who you're a bully to. And he put on like the bully persona, and that tricked Republicans into thinking, he's a real man. You ever see those videos of like Chinese zoos, and you have the pandas in there, and then you have the zookeepers dressed up like pandas, like they're wearing these ridiculous panda costumes and hanging out with the pandas, and it tricks the pandas into thinking that they're one of them. That's what Trump has done. He has the Republicans who are far less intelligent than your average panda, and he put on like the masculine, the He-Man masculine dude costume, and they bought it. They went right into it. Like, he's never done honest day's work in his life. Yeah. I remember seeing memes of this one meme. I will die remembering this meme where Trump was out on a construction site, and some Republican numbskull posted, "That's my president. He's wearing a baseball cap and work boots." That's like, that's all it takes to convince you, man. That's it. Like, you think Donald Trump is out there actually working with like the rebar and like digging, and then we're working a crane and all that. And that's it. It's it. They're fucking idiots, man.
The thing is, like, think of all the things that are everyday activities that Donald Trump has probably never done in his life. Like, the guy doesn't even drive. I bet he doesn't even have a driver's license. He's had a driver since
I gotta pause.
1970s.
I gotta pause you real quick. I have seen him drive, and it was
Really?
the weird. Yes, it was a Facebook video I saw years ago, and Donald Trump is in the driver's seat, and Melania's in the passenger seat, and Barron's in the back seat as a little kid. And it was the most bizarre thing I'd ever seen, like watching Donald Trump, because I would have bet the same thing, that he probably doesn't even have a license, but I assume he had a license, but he was driving that car, and it looked really weird. So, but yeah, most of the shit, he's never done your average shit. Like, when they made fun of Joe Biden for riding a bike, you think Donald Trump could ride a bike? You think Donald Trump could ride a bike? No fucking way. All right. Go ahead.
No, I mean, the guy's never done anything that normal people do. He's never been to the grocery store. I guess he's been to McDonald's.
That's true. That's true.
But just your average, run of the mill stuff that people claim, he's one of us. He does nothing that normal people do.
Which, by the way, I am a person who would be in the tax bracket to eat McDonald's, and I think it's disgusting fucking garbage. So, oh my god, I'm in the minority opinion here.
We'll revisit this later.
What I'm saying is, if I had Donald Trump money, I wouldn't eat a fucking ounce of McDonald's in my entire life, because why would I? And honestly, it's the happiest I've ever seen him when he's eating McDonald's.
Look, listen. McDonald's is chemically engineered to be delicious and addictive, like purposefully. Like, it is chemically engineered to taste as good to human beings as it possibly can. So, look, you may not like
it's not TJ.
It is.
It would taste a hell of a lot better.
No, it is. I mean, that's why
I think you're thinking of Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A.
I'm not joking.
To be delicious.
I'm not using hyperbole. It literally is. Like, it's literally engineered to be addictive. And like they've come out and like said this with like the fats and the oils and everything they use that causes people to buy more and more shit. I mean, it's why it's a popular chain. Well, look, it's not going to be popular for everybody, but to your average human, the shit McDonald's sells, it slaps. It hits. It's not gourmet food, obviously, but as far as stuff that hits the spot when you're hungry and makes you satiated, it's fine. All right, not here defending McDonald's and shit, but all right. I have one more video I wanted to show, and this is Jesse Waters. And you guys know Jesse Waters, right? Everyone's familiar with Jesse. I remember Jesse Waters when he was just a humble correspondent for Bill O'Reilly back in the early 2000s. And Bill O'Reilly would send him out to Chinatown to ask racist questions to people. And it's glad to see he's all grown up and filling old Bill's shoes. This is him offering his opinion on Kamala Harris.
No audio, TJ.
Still no audio?
No audio on this one. I don't know why some of them have audio and some of them don't.
Oh my God. What the? Oh, all right. I don't know. Well, anyway, in the video, he mentions that Kamala Harris is an average woman and that she has this affectation that she likes to sit around and actually I can read it here. So it says, Jesse Waters says she's just an average woman, Kennedy. She's just an average kind of mediocre person who avoids fixing things because she doesn't want any attention that's negative. She doesn't try that hard. And when she does try, she gets in trouble for not trying. And when she yells at everybody else, she likes wine, she likes food, she likes to dance. She's just your typical girl's girl that talks behind everyone's back and then says nice things to your face. She's not the level of what you should think as a president. I hope the Republicans keep this shit up. I hope they keep this shit up. This is just music to my ears that they're attacking Kamala Harris for laughing too much, for
eating a bag of Doritos.
Eating Doritos, smiling. It's just like being a venomous. What is like a venomous?
She probably wants to get a beer with you, TJ. How dare she?
Oh yeah, like she's an annoying wine drinking woman. And look, so Todd brought up a good point here with you said that you can't believe there's an audience for this kind of thing. And because you're right, it has gotten way worse over the years because there's a lot of money to be made to be as disgusting as possible, which is why you have your Candace Owens and your Nick Fuentes's and your Andrew Tates. And the right wing is reaching this weird crux point where the influencers are motivated to be as awful, to vice signal, to be as terrible as they can to make more money. But at a certain point, you start shutting off the population. They hit that point like 3.5 years ago. And now you're going to see shit like this. Like Jesse Waters is a professional villain. He loves it. You can see he's a big shit. He knows it's offensive and he loves getting away with it. But yeah, I hope they keep the shit up.
It's funny because, comparing it to what the Democrats are doing, it is almost as if the Democrats are doing everything they possibly can to avoid mentioning that Kamala Harris will be the first female president of the United States.
Yeah.
They saw what that did to Hillary in 2016, and they were like, fuck no, we are going to do the exact opposite of that. And here we have Republicans just falling into that fucking snake pit where they can't help but keep just mentioning that she's a woman. And that the Democrats don't have to do it. The Republicans are making it very fucking clear. And they're the ones who look fucking weird about it. Because just as weird as it was when Hillary did it, it's even weirder with these Republicans. Because the things that they're pointing out, like she talks behind people's back like a woman, like what example do you even have of this? It's just pure woman hate. You're just saying things you hate about women. And therefore, Kamala must be that because she is a woman. If you were to ask Jesse Waters to give one fucking example of Kamala talking behind people's backs, he wouldn't be able to give it to you. It's just because she's a woman. And I'm not even upset about it. You're right. I want them to keep doing this.
Perfect.
Because just keep going, Jesse. Keep going, Fox. It's doing you wonders. If you don't think it's weird, you know what? Stand by your guns. Keep going at it.
It's all free campaigning for the Democrats. I mean, keep calling her a slut. Keep saying she slept her way to the top. Every attack they throw at them right now is just it's confirming they don't have anything on these people. Like the story a week or so ago from Tim Walz's financial disclosures where they're like, this guy doesn't even own any stock. He doesn't have anything invested in this economy. And it's like, tell me more. Like this sounds perfect. That they are doing so good at destroying themselves.
It really is crazy how the Democrats have just stumbled into this, by the way. Like this is an accident of incredible proportions that, hold on, stop the presses here. We got Scott's Hamburgers coming back for round 2. Want a meal that's not chemically engineered to taste as good as humans? It's as good to humans as it possibly can. Head to Scott's Hamburgers in beautiful Bixby, Oklahoma today. Scott's Hamburgers, thank you very much. We are glad to be proud recipients of your sponsorship, and they listen to the show. Scott's Hamburgers, they're comrades. So obviously
Scott, if you're Scott, I don't know if this is Scott, TJ, but we've been talking about how we need like ad breaks to just make it sound more coherent. And we should just cut ads for Scott's Hamburgers.
For Scott's Hamburgers. Oh,
I don't care if you give us another dime. You're already our biggest sponsor.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I like this. I'm going to start working on commercials for Scott's Hamburgers.
Scott, send us an email, theleftwing@gmail.com. And we'll be in touch.
We'll get right on
talk to your people.
Yeah. But yeah, the Democrats have just stumbled into this. And we talked about this before, how I remember when Barack Obama ran for president in 2007, 2008, I watched very closely for this exact same thing. I wanted to see if he would make a big deal about the fact that he'd be the first black president. To my knowledge, he never mentioned it. I never once saw him talk about how this is going to be an auspicious moment for the American people if you nominate me or if you elect me as your first black president, and this will show that we can move forward. He never talked about it, which was smart. And of course, the Republicans back then fell into the trap, which makes it so unforgivable that Clinton didn't see this coming, because she talked about it all the time. She did. She would always talk about, I remember a response she would make, because when she was running against Trump, they would say Trump was running as an outsider. And her response, I heard it 4 or 5 times, when she said, I can't imagine anything being more of an outsider than being the first woman president of the United States. And it's like, you don't do that. She's making the election about her, not about the people. And Harris, the only people mentioning her gender and her race are the Republicans. And it makes them seem really fucking strange and really fucking malicious. And it's working.
And it's an attack on her race.
It's
not just her race. It's an attack on it.
Yeah, they don't even mention it as a positive. They even deny it exists. I mean, it's like the message isn't coherent. It's kind of like when Biden was running in 2020 and they were saying that, Joe Biden is this lawless Antifa thug, and he was also too tough on crime with the crime bill. They had 2 competing narratives, and now they have, Kamala is just, a black DEI hire, but she's not black, actually. Like they can't keep things in line. So I don't know. This is why I'm just
black now, TJ. She wasn't black before. That's why you're confused.
Yeah, the timeline, got to get that shit right. But yeah, I love seeing it and watching the RNC and the Republicans in general, and the funeral dirge that was the RNC compared to a literal day by day party. You're watching every hour at the DNC is insane. I've never seen anything like it, but I'm glad it's happening.
Before we move off the DNC, TJ, who do you think the special guest is tonight?
Oh, I have no idea. I didn't know that.
They've announced there's some mystery surprise speaker.
No,
they always do this with like some celebrity or whatever. Like Hulk Hogan fit this bill for the Republicans, except he wasn't surprised.
It's Ric Flair.
I really, it's always Ric Flair. I saw that angry White House staffer Twitter account.
Mm-hmm.
They said, guys, I can't say anything, but watch tonight. So I'm excited. I don't know who it's going to be.
Man, listen, things have been going too well. Things have just been. They
gotta fuck it up.
Yeah, like it's like in Breaking Bad when Walter White was going to the hospital for his cancer surgery, and he said that they were driving and it was nothing but green lights, and how he didn't like it because he wanted to spend more time with his family. I feel like there's been nothing but green lights here. I feel like they're gonna bust out like Liz Cheney or something, and it's like, oh, look at that, we got a Republican here, isn't she great? And she wants to ban abortion like the rest of them, but she hates Trump. I hope it's not something like that, but we'll see.
Can I make a call out where I'm going to celebrate it if I'm correct, and I'm going to completely ignore that I said it when I'm obviously wrong. But if they get Talib or Omar up there, because of all of the stink that has been made about,
okay,
TJ. But here's the thing: it felt so stupid when Kamala originally did that thing with the protesters, when she was I'm speaking now, and then the next day she fixed that shit. Yesterday, a whole hubbub was made about them saying we're not going to let a Palestinian American up there. If they let Talib up there, that would be a really strong moment. It would be a powerful moment, and it would bring the house down.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. That's what I said. I'm going to completely ignore that I said this when it doesn't happen. But if I'm right, I'm playing this everywhere, TJ.
It would be a great political move, but Rashida Tlaib isn't going to leash herself for that speech. And in order for her to make that speech, they are going to put hard and fast things on what she can and can't say.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think she
would have to give her would have to be something real, because she wouldn't do it for something that wasn't important,
that's why I don't see it happen. I mean, hey, listen, all respect if it does, but I don't feel confident. All right, good one. Scott's Hamburgers coming through for us. I love it. Oh, well, I didn't notice. Rio Martinez said, "Fire the sound guy." Martinez is Martinez. He was in the army with me, and he's a cruel human being. You're fired.
All right, so our next topic, TJ, where do you want to go? Do you want to roll right into Kamala's policy?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so I don't know. Again, I'm interested to see if people are interested in this video. But Kamala has not been very or incredibly forthcoming with her policy positions. But one of the most detailed policies that she's put out there, and to be fair, it's been a month now. I don't expect her to be, writing policy for us to see right now. But one of the most detailed policies that she's put out there is her housing policy. Now, as a 27-year-old who would like to be able to buy a house before he hits 30, this is very important to me personally, because she's doing a lot to help first-time home buyers and expand the housing market in general. And I think the way that she's going about it is incredibly smart. She's leading with a very populist policy proposal of giving $25,000 to first-time home buyers for assistance on their down payment, which is the biggest thing that prevents a lot of people from buying a home, because people have the money to pay their mortgage, or else they wouldn't be able to pay rent. It's that large down payment that they can't afford to save up for because they're paying rent and getting no equity in exchange. That's one of the biggest barriers to people becoming homeowners in America. And that's going to go right to it. And now the obvious critique of that is, if you give $25,000 in increased demand while supply remains the same, you're just going to end up with more expensive homes, which is true, which is why she's also creating massive tax incentives to build 300 million new homes in this country. And on top of that, providing $40 billion special fund to be given as grants to cities and other local governments to find creative solutions to build up their housing supply and rental supply for people who aren't buying these multi-$100,000 homes, and that is going to be deflationary more than the $25,000 is inflationary. I think this is excellent policy. It thinks through all of the different points and finds the bipartisan solutions, like building more supply, which is very good for both Republicans and Democrats. I just think it's an absolute home run. I think it's effective policy. I think it's effective political policy. And if the rest of her policy is like this, I'm more excited about what she's going to do policy-wise than I was before I heard this. Now, I haven't talked to either of you about this at all. Maybe you're not as excited about this policy as I am. TJ, I'll ask you first. What did you think about this?
Well, the first thing I thought, so I was reading through the article and I kept trying to find, so Yeah, increasing the supply would bring down the costs. That's true. I mean, that's we all learned this in ninth grade, supply and demand and stuff. But I didn't see anything talking about the huge issue of like large corps buying the houses.
Oh no, no. She's high tax penalties on any individual corporation that owns more than 50 residential.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that. I was looking for that. Okay, all right, okay, all right, perfect then. All right, yeah. So
yeah, no, I'm telling you, TJ, she's got her bases fucking covered with this.
Yeah, because honestly, I don't even know if supply is actually the issue. I think the issue is that it's availability. That you have states that have like 10-15% of the single family homes that are owned by one single corporate entity, and that's what's really driving the prices up. Now, of course, adding more homes to the market, and especially low cost ones, because when I was reading that the assistance was $25,000, that's good, but that's still not going to be enough to cover a lot of these down, because a lot of these down payments are 15-20%, and you're paying 15% on, let's say, a $400,000 house. That's 60,000. Yeah. So, I mean, look, that's a lot of fucking money. I mean, that's 20%. That's a lot of fucking money. Go ahead.
I think that in reading the article, and I think it said something about how the guidelines for what qualifies as a starter home has not yet been set out. And I think that one of the things that we do have a shortage of in this country is a small house. And I don't mean a tiny home, but when our parents were buying their first houses, you could buy 1,000 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath house and say that's a starter home. And I think that that's one piece that if you get that lined out well to where people can buy a small home and have a $25,000 down payment, that goes a really long way. I'm just happy there is a policy.
Yes.
I feel like back in 2009, 2010, I feel like Obama had a very similar, like a $10,000 tax credit for first-time home buyers. And I don't know what the effectiveness of that was. I remember my sister got $10,000 back on her taxes from buying a house when she became a first home buyer in that time frame. And so I'm just happy that Harris is coming up with a policy and trying to come up with a solution. And that compared to the other side is, leaps and bounds ahead.
Yeah, that the Democrats are doing a really good job of actually putting forth policies that help, because it's wild that I still can't believe Republicans still have this this clout about them as the party that is fiscally responsible and helps you with finance. Like, you ask your average person, they'll say, well, of course, the Republicans are better for the economy. They're terrible for the economy, like in every conceivable metric. And you don't see these issues. Like, one thing we talk about all the time is how politicians really need to do things to help people start families, like other than forcing them to have children, like things that would actually incentivize people to have families, and making houses affordable, quantifying what a starter house is. And one thing we didn't mention that John talked about, making rentals more available and cheaper, because rent is out of this world expensive. And that's going to help out too, because a lot of young people are not ready to own a home and actually don't want to at that time. But, they're paying $2,500 a month to rent, and it's just precluding them from ever saving enough to buy a house. So, yeah, I think it's a good idea that they're actually putting something forward, anything to give people some sort of hope.
Yeah, and TJ, what you said about supply, we have the dirty bubble here. I'm saying supply is definitely the main issue. We have a shortage of 4.5 million homes. We need to push the limit on single-family housing. It is an issue with supply. I'm going to put up a chart here to show new homes built by decade. And basically what happened is 2008 happened, and we stopped building. We stopped building homes. And I say that, and it sounds like hyperbole, but it really isn't. From 2000 to 2009, we built 27 million homes. The decade before that, 26 million. Decade before that, 25 million. From 2010 to 2019, we built 5.8 million homes.
Damn.
And it's not like our population stopped growing. And there are a million things you can say, about you can't just build more and expect things to happen, blah, 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 blah. At some point, the basics of supply and demand will come into effect. And when you build 15 million less homes than would have otherwise been expected, and your population continues to grow, well, fuck, you're going to have housing problems. It's not rocket science. Like, on just the 300 million new homes on its own, it doesn't matter if they're low income. It doesn't matter if they're first time homes. Like, it's nice. It's a good thing that she's focusing on that. But if you just built 300 million new luxury homes, well, you know what? The people who are currently sitting in multi-million-dollar shitty fucking homes are going to go buy those nice ones. And those multi-million-dollar shitty fucking homes, and if you live in a city, you've seen them. You've gone by a home, you've seen it's for sale, and you've gone, ooh, I want, it doesn't look all that nice. I think I could maybe afford that. You look up Zillow and you're like, holy shit, that's multi-million-dollars. There's no way. Well, you know what? Those people are going to move out of those homes into the nice new homes that are built. Those homes are going to become available for, like, middle-class people. And then people who are renting, suddenly there's all of the space that they can move into that the previously middle-class people are now moving up into. And it creates downward pressure on all the markets. And economics isn't always that simple, but in this case, it is. And it's Obama. Obama was up there talking about, having to increase supply and making homes more affordable. These are concepts which used to be venomous in the Democratic Party. This used to be, Republicans used to be for supply side, building more homes. And Democrats were the ones who were very not in my backyard, zoning regulations. Like, this is a problem that a lot of Democrats have created. I mean, look at the cities that have the hardest housing supply problems being Democrat-run cities like LA and New York. There's a reason for that. And the fact that we're seeing Barack Obama at the DNC talking about this, it's honestly one of the most successful wins, at least on my side of the political leftist aisle, that I've seen. And it's been in rapid succession over the past, 5 years or so.
Damn.
That's an amazing piece of data.
Wow.
I was not aware of that.
Me neither. And I think what I was thinking with the supply thing was homelessness, not necessarily affordability. I think I crossed my wires on that one there, because there's like 15 million empty homes or something, and there's not 15 million homeless people, but that's a separate issue than the affordability of the homes. But I had no idea that our production of houses had dropped that much. Holy shit, that's bad.
All right. And that was the Left Wing Talks Actual Policy, brought to you by Scott's Hamburgers. Go get a juicy hamburger in your new home in Oklahoma.
Where the hell? I looked up where Bixby, Oklahoma was. I was trying to see if it was near Fort Sill. It's not. It's pretty far away. No, it's too bad. But
I feel like that town is like in a movie. Somebody talks about
Bixby, Oklahoma in a movie, maybe. I actually, what if Scott's Hamburgers is a fictional place, guys?
We looked it up. The first day. We looked it up the first day because we wanted to see if it was an actual place, and it was. So whether this is actually Scott or not. Oklahoma. Yeah. I don't know. Pretty odd shit. Todd, so this is like the halfway point of the show here. I just wanted to shoot the shit here with military stuff. I didn't know there was no sergeant major rank during World War II. That is blowing my mind. And I love trivia and stuff, and this is another trivia about the rank sergeant major, and like the military ranks and what they mean has been always interesting to me. That the actual like history and the etymology of the terms. John knows how much I'm into etymology, but the rank sergeant it's from all these are from like middle ages, nobility and stuff like that. And sergeant literally means servant. It's the French word for servant. And so you were the servant to like the Lord or the king or something like that. And so when they're from the military ranks, that way. And so your sergeant major was the chief servant, But interestingly enough, the rank sergeant major back then during the nobility days, honestly, up until like the 1800s, was major. It was the same rank. Like there was no sergeant major. Like you had like your sergeant major, and then you went to colonel after sergeant major, and the same thing for Major General. It was Sergeant Major General. And so they kind of just, yeah, I know, right? And so they moved it on and then made its own rank because the word was kind of odd because it kind of doubled up for different things because it was more of a job than a title. But yeah, sorry, John. That was just some weird little shit to go over there. But military is fun stuff. Like the military loves their tradition. They love it. And a lot of it's really dumb. And it's fun to read into. It's pretty fascinating. Oh, real quick, while we're on it, I've been laughing for a long time about JD Vance because JD Vance has been, questioning Tim Walz and whether or not I can't believe he retired after 24 years before going, into Iraq or something like that. And JD Vance did. Now, I always say I am not one to criticize anyone's military service. Like everyone plays a role. Everyone has a job. There's no one more important than anyone else.
He opened himself up.
He did. He had it coming. Do you know what his job was? What his MOS? He was a public affairs guy.
Correspondent.
Yeah. And I think that's very funny because I've never seen anyone worse at public affairs than JD Vance. And so the fact that he actually has training on this stuff and he's consistently the worst person on either ticket. Like, say what you want about Trump, but Trump knows how to ham it up for a camera. But JD Vance just shits the bed every time he's on a podium.
Did you see the clip of him at the donut shop?
Oh, I didn't watch it, but I saw someone share that. What happened?
It was devastating. It was like just straight out of Veep. I swear to God. Like it's just like he goes to the donut shop and he's just like, "Hi," and she's like, "I don't want to be on camera right now." And he's like, "Oh, guys, can we like blur her out? It's okay. Hi, I'm JD Vance. I'm running for vice president. Maybe you heard of me." And like the whole, he's just like, where are you from? He's trying to make small talk with these people who clearly want nothing to do with him. And
he's the most awkward human.
Brutal to watch.
Where is he so
awkward? He's so awkward.
Yeah. And you would think his whole thing of like, oh, I grew up like poor. Like I don't believe him that he grew up poor. That's honestly my take on it is like, how can you have grown up like a normal person and be this fucking weird? I don't get it.
He did grow up like, middle class and everything. But honestly, wait, where is he from? Like
just outside of Cincinnati.
Okay. And so he's one of those folks. So, we're all salts of the earth people right here. None of us were born with like silver spoons in our mouths. We're just common working folk here. But you always knew one person who was among all the rest of us, but acted like he was better than everyone, who thought, I'm the smart guy here. I'm the classy one. And that's how he always fancied himself. Yeah. And so, he even like, I haven't read Hillbilly Elegy, but everyone that I've heard give a review of it was basically saying that, yeah, these people are just idiots and morons. And I'm among them, but I am not of them. I'm better than them. I'm more evolved. And I am the, top model hillbilly. And this is the best you're going to get out of that crew. And I just think he looks down on them and has always carried himself in that haughty manner. And when you just spend your entire life having disdain for everyone around you, it bleeds off. It bleeds off. You're not going to be able to, commiserate with anyone traveling the country. And God, what a fucking bad VP pick, man. What a bad VP pick, man. Trump has got to be miserable.
So the Dirty Bubble says, makes me wonder why he accepted the VP pick. Surely he knows that he's not cut out for the campaigning stuff. Is he incapable of feeling embarrassment? And I thought about this for like, a couple seconds here. I wonder if he wanted it because it doesn't make sense. He's clearly not cut out for it. He's clearly not ready. I wonder if Trump just offered it to him and he realized that he couldn't refuse because he built his entire political career sucking up to Donald Trump. Like, because if Donald Trump just liked him and said, I want you, he didn't really campaign for it. Like we saw Shapiro and Walz, they campaigned for the VP spot. I don't remember, like JD Vance just kind of came out of nowhere in the last minute from my perspective. The look on TJ's face is making me think I'm very wrong, though.
It makes no sense to me. How could Donald Trump, everything we know about him, how could he overcome the fact that JD Vance said all the horrible things about him that he had said previously about Donald Trump's is America's Hitler. He's this or that. Even if you're going to spin it as, he saw the light, how great I am. I just don't see how Donald Trump could ever get over someone disrespecting him that way. That's what blows my mind.
I know the answer to this one, Todd. It's because the only thing, but when you are a person like Donald Trump, who has a cult of personality, who all he cares about is people kissing the ring and sucking his dick. The only thing better than someone who always kisses the ring and sucks your dick is someone who used to not do that, that you got to get on their knees for you. That is why. Like the fact that he was against Donald Trump and now sucks his dick makes it like a bigger power play and makes Donald Trump feel better about himself. That's why he can get over it.
Yeah, and I mean, like the people saying that why Vance was picked at all, because like I thought he'd be a bad pick. Well, the two reasons I've heard was his kids talked him into it, which is great. I love that for him. I love that like the one time he listens to his bonehead kids, and it's the worst decision. Like, I don't know, Trump should trust his own instincts. And the second is because like JD Vance came with all that Peter Thiel money, and Trump wanted the backing of billionaires, and Musk too, I think, wanted him. But John, I was that because I remember seeing this article from months ago. I just found it when you were saying how we didn't know if JD Vance wanted to be vice president or not. And this is the first thing that popped in my head. Whereas an article I read a long time ago was like, it says JD Vance says he'll be disappointed if he's not Trump's VP. I just remember thinking about that when you said it. And because he was talking about, he made it very clear that he's running to be Donald Trump's pick for vice president. He's eager for the job, which I know sounds hard to believe because he doesn't look like someone who prepped for this. Maybe he didn't expect to win. Like maybe he didn't actually expect to get picked, but he's just not very good at being a politician, as it turns out. And like all the people you met, at it. He's brand new. He's 40 years old. And he's been in the Senate for 2 years. Like the guy just now started doing this, which has really got to chap the people who have been in politics for 15 years trying to be vice president. And they got shit on for JD Vance, like the worst politician in the entire Senate. The guy had Trump, I can't remember the numbers, but Trump won Ohio by like 14 points and Vance won his seat by like 3 or 4. Like he barely won in Ohio with Trump's endorsement that he was begging for. So yeah, JD Vance is just not that good at it. And Trump would have been better off with literally anyone. Like John predicted that this pick was going to hurt him. I wasn't convinced, but holy shit, this is actually sinking him. There was a statement that he put out. But he went on this weird tour when he ran for Senate, where he was going on every insane right-wing incel podcast imaginable, and all those quotes are coming back to haunt him.
It's all coming back. How'd they not vet the guy? I don't understand.
Did you see that one? I saw it today, right before the show, where they asked him if he believed there should be exceptions for abortion bans when it comes to rape. And he pivoted and he said, listen, I don't think that's the right question. I think the right question is, does this child deserve to live? And I think it does, because I think that, killing this human being because the mother would be inconvenienced is wrong. Inconvenience, man. Like when you're Donald Trump, and Trump is very well aware of the precarious nature the Republican Party is on when it comes to this abortion thing. He knows, like Trump knows how to discipline his messaging with the abortion thing. That's actually what gets me the most, that he didn't think the abortion shit, because he's a psycho on abortion, would scare people away. And it absolutely is. Like, Trump is not in his not bringing forth his A game this election cycle, John, like you were saying. The guy is dropping the ball all over the place. Exactly.
And I'm trying to tie this into our next topic. Well, no, we can talk. Let's go straight into yours, TJ. Let's go into Project 2025. That's actually a great segment.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. So, all right, I made a video a while ago on my TikTok account, which is Powers Taken Not Given, for those of you who are not following it. And I said that I would never do a video on Project 2025 because it kind of annoyed me. And the reason I said I wouldn't do the video specifically on Project 2025 is that I kind of see it as a distraction. It's a bit of a canard, because like John talked about, I think before we went live, that everyone's focusing on Project 2025, but everything about Project 2025 is just standard Republican orthodoxy that's, been there since the Reagan days. And the Heritage Foundation writes up all these policies saying that, we want to centralize the federal government power, and we want the president to have direct control over people in the civil service. So like you have, your people in the FBI and the people in the Department of Homeland Security. You have the political appointees that are in charge and they set the direction. But the busy work is done by people who've done this for decades, like who actually know, which form goes where, who knows what department takes care of what. And Trump wants to have Project 2025 wants the president, Trump, to have direct control over these people, basically to take off all the guardrails. Because you can have an insane person heading up, whatever department you want. But the people who are actually, in the trenches say, okay, well, I can't actually do that. That's against the rules, the bean counters and everything. He's like, no, I want those people to answer directly to Donald Trump. And there's a guy and Trump has been distancing himself from Project 2025. He always says the same thing. He says Project 25, which I got to say, Project 25 does sound better than Project 2025. That does show you that Trump does know the marketing thing. They should have called it that. But he says Project 25. I don't know anything about it. I've never read it. I know they have a lot of insane stuff in there. And I was like, okay, man, if you never read it, how do you know what's in there? No one ever asked him that, and it really bothers me. And he distanced himself from it. And so my issue was, if Trump successfully distances himself from Project 2025, people are going to breathe a sigh of relief. Like, no, don't. Because it's the same shit the Republicans have been pushing for decades now. Fortunately, he has not been able to distance himself from it. And he's been stuck with it, and they can't really get around it. But there were these two British investigative reporters who went to a guy, and I kid you not, he's the co-author of Project 2025. His name is John Vaught. Which is just,
I didn't know that, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's so great, right? It's so great. It's like this is, yeah, you see shit like, man, come on, this is
like Jamie Dimon. Like
it just can't be right. And so they went to him posing as family members of a right-wing donor. I didn't find out which donor they were pretending to be, but they said, yeah, we're a big right-wing donor. We want to give a bunch of money to Donald Trump, but we need to know exactly, what this Project 2025 thing is. Donald Trump says that he's not on board with this, and we want to know, how he's going here. Now, the video I wanted wasn't. I hope this one plays, but let's see some of the stuff he says here. Let's give it a shot. Let me know if you guys can hear this.
His view of who should be an American.
Perfect.
So I want to make sure that we can say we're a Christian nation, and my viewpoint is mostly that I would probably be Christian nationism. That's pretty close to Christian nationalism. If we're going to have legal immigration, can we get people that actually believe in Christianity? Is that something, or do we have to have, are we not allowed to ask questions about Sharia law?
What could we see America looking like, I guess?
I mean,
in an ideal world.
In an ideal world, I mean, I think we could save the country in a sense of, the largest deportation in history,
and even pornography.
We'd have a national ban on pornography if we could, right?
But the most striking of Vaught's statements has to do with presidential power.
George Floyd obviously was not about race. It was about destabilizing the Trump administration.
Right.
It's the left's belief that structures in society are the problem. Pulling society down for purposes of revolution is exactly what they want. And what you're seeing at college campuses is a part of that as well. The president has, the ability both along the border and elsewhere to maintain law and order with the military.
A major part of.
All right. A lot to cover there. A lot to cover in this Project 2025 thing. And he goes on also in the interview to say that, yes, Donald Trump is disavowing us, but we are working with the Trump team every day on this. He's very well aware of it, which we all knew, because when it was time to pick the Supreme Court justices, the Heritage Foundation put out a bunch of people that they want on the Supreme Court. All three justices that Donald Trump selected were from that list. So from those things he mentioned, what do you want to look at first, John? Like which part is the most appealing to you from the Project 2025 crew? What do you think?
So I have some qualms with you saying that Project 2025 is just Republican orthodoxy.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say what he's saying there is distinctly like the RNC party platform right now, because he's connecting a couple things that the platform connects. He's connecting mass deportation to protests on college campuses, and also connecting, the left wants to tear down structures in society, which is very much code word for we want society to be structured in a hierarchical way, and the left doesn't like that. And they're bad guys for trying to tear that down, which is the classic line that basically every British fucking villain in every movie you've ever watched has made. And this is like, it is part, and it isn't just Project 25. It is part of the Republican Party platform that they want to deport American citizens who are protesting on college campuses. It's not like he can distance himself from Project 2025 all he wants. That's his fucking party platform. You can tell because it's written in capital letters. Like it's something that it really stresses me out that like even the Democrats aren't really taking it seriously. That like, yeah, they're saying Project 25 is this scary thing, but like just talk about the fact that he wants to deport American citizens, people. You can see where the line of reasoning goes here, where, okay, now the president has full control and authority to deport these protesters on college campuses that want to tear down the structures of society. Well, that can be fucking anyone, guys. And it isn't just Project 2025. Again, it cannot be stressed enough. It is the Republican Party platform. It is what they intend on doing. They are saying who they are, and we should believe them.
What do you think, Todd?
You know, the fact that anybody would believe that Donald Trump is not part of this. I mean, the fact that J.D. Vance, the picking of J.D. Vance was just like the biggest nod to the Heritage Foundation. Like the second that he was selected as VP, they were on all their little podcasts and everything being like, yep, there's our guy, like, way to go. Also, I don't feel like they're not trying to hide it. Like I think in the article that we looked at to really talk about this was, you know, the basic stance of these two British reporters infiltrating and secretly recording them was like, well, I don't know why they even bothered to do that. All they got to do is go look at this stuff. We say this stuff out loud. Why are you around here sneaking around pretending you're somebody that you're not? Like, we'll tell you right to your face that this is what we do. They're not even trying to hide this. And I don't really think the Trump administration is trying to either. Like, and most of your MAGA conservatives who, you know, if you bring it up, hey, Project 2025, they'll tell you, well, Donald Trump doesn't even want that.
Yeah.
Well, they don't believe that. They know that he doesn't want it, and they know that they want it. And like John said, it's really a lot of that stuff is just out there in the open. If you open up the Republican platform and read the stuff, it's just to connect the dots of all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a mystery to me why they do that though. Like, really, because Project 2025 has a lot of negative press for the name itself. But if you ask about the policies, like in one by one, you'd be hard pressed to find any they disagree with, right? I mean, that's why I get so mad that Trump can just get away with saying that, and no one ever asks him, well, what are the crazy parts of Project 2025 that you think are absurd, that you don't want nothing to do with? And he never has to answer it. With what Russell Vaught was saying there, my favorite part is when he mentions that, well, you know, I don't want Christian nationalism. I want Christian nationism. And that, for the life
slow
of me,
clap on
now
that
listen,
one, DJ.
Listen,
That's brilliant.
Listen, like, I am a man of few talents, but, you know, words is my thing. Like, I'm good with words. I have no idea what that means. I don't have the faintest clue where to begin with Christian nationism and how it differs from Christian nationalism, other than two fucking letters.
It's like in what Coming to America. You've seen Coming to America.
Yeah.
And it's not McDonald's, it's McDowell's. They got the golden arches, we got the golden arcs. That's exactly what it is.
It's just I say, and he said it he played it completely straight. Like, this makes absolute sense that everyone's going to be following what I'm saying here. And so he did a little sleight of hand that I thought was pretty clever, where he talked about how the Christian nationism, and he says it's different than Christian nationalism. And I think it's important to remember that if we're going to have legal immigration coming in, that these people need to be Christians, and which is a really funny thing to say, because the immigrants that Americans are the most up in arms about are like immigrants from Central America or maybe South America. Like 95% of them are Christians.
Yeah.
Say what?
They're Christian as fuck. They're way more Christian than we are.
Way more Christian than the United States. But no, not those kind of Christians, man. Like, you know what I mean when I say Christians, right? Come on. Like, we're talking about European Christendom. That's what we're talking. So I hate that they hide behind, because then he switched to saying, well, you know what, Sharia law. How many Muslim immigrants are coming to the country? Like, if it's 0.5%, I would be shocked if it was that high. Like, it is like that's not a big amount of people coming into the United States legally or otherwise. But he's really focused on the Christian part, and he mentioned that what is up with their listen. Look, 5%. I know it's 5%. Wow, higher than I thought, but still, yeah, 5%. That seems really high. I wouldn't have how. I mean, like with all the immigrants from Central and South America, I would have figured it would be in the 1%. But anyway, their weird obsession we got with abortion and everything, and controlling women's lives, and forcing them to be incubators and baby machines. But they really the porn ban. Is anybody clamoring for a ban on pornography? I can say I'm not. I'll tell you that much. The TJ sure as hell isn't. I'm
sitting in one right now.
In what?
I'm sitting one in Kentucky right now. For all intents and purposes, the Kentucky General Assembly passed a
you're sitting in a porn ban. Okay.
Passed a law.
I thought you were saying you're like actively on the set of.
That's what I thought too. I thought you said I'm sitting in a porn right now. That's what I thought too.
Moved back and forth a couple times.
Like Todd, do not move your camera. Like, keep your camera precisely where it is. But sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
Kentucky passed one this last General Assembly that requires, if you're going to watch porn on the internet in this state, you've got to have like your driver's license uploaded to the website to confirm who you are, name, date of birth, social, all these things. And so pretty much, I guess all the sites are just like, no, we're not dealing with Kentucky anymore. So I mean, there's a lot of pissed off people, I guess, paying for OnlyFans in Kentucky now.
Indiana passed that same bill. I remember it was probably the same time, like July, was it, or June? I remember It was really recent, and there was like 7 or 8 states that had this ballot on there. And it's a weird thing because there certainly is no public outcry to stop people from going to X videos. I know that's not something that the constituency is begging for, but once again, the Christian nationalist wing of the Republican Party needs to preach to their rabid base as much as possible. But it is interesting because it's kind of hard to come out and say we need to bring the porn back and make that a big. I mean, no one's going to do that either. So it's just weird. It's just kind of odd. Let's cut.
I think the big question about Project 2025 kind of alluded to, like, why make this public? Like, if you actually wanted to enact Project 2025, making it public seems like a terrible fucking idea. And adding things like a porn ban into it also doesn't make fucking sense.
No.
And it's donor bait. Like, that's what it is. They've created a platform for a small select group of extremely rich fascist fucks to give them money in order to enact this platform. And Donald Trump is their golden goose. We're like, yeah, no, he's the guy. We got access to him. He's going to be the guy to implement all this. And as soon as they can connect the two dots and they're like, oh, fuck, if we give you money, we're giving him money, and he's going to be a dictator, and we're going to be the guys who get benefits off of that. And I think that explains the entirety of Project 2025, if you really, because some of it is Christian orthodoxy taken to 11, but some of it's just fucking weird. And the fucking weird, and the fact that it's public is fucking weird. And I think it can all be explained by that.
I had a light bulb go off just now. That remember how we were saying that Donald Trump is distancing himself from Project 2025 and saying some parts are ridiculous. I know
That's
what part
the
he
one.
thinks. I know. We have found the part that he thinks is ridiculous because I know damn well Donald Trump is not pushing forward. If anybody is on board with it, yeah, it won't be Donald Trump. So at least one mystery solved there. And the last thing he mentioned was, can you believe the left is pushing for a revolution? Tears in my eyes. Tears when he said that, because the right cannot fucking stop talking about enacting a civil war and a revolution. And this is our 1776.
This will be bloodless if the left allows it.
Yeah, they say it every fucking day. So I found it incredibly rich that he's like, yeah, I can't believe the lefties are trying to have a revolution. That's our thing. How are they trying to take that away from us? And I don't know. That was pretty wild.
So I think a lot of it boils down to the fact that we have these two big tent parties. And the Democrats, we have our conflicts because a lot of us are college educated, upper middle class white people, and they kind of run the party, and they always have. But they're also the party that includes minorities and includes, working class unions, and farther left, labor organizations, and they all coalesce into this party, and we have those types of conflicts. Over on the right, you have a more consolidated demographic group. It's white people and mostly white men, but you have these very different ideological tenets where you have the people who are clamoring for, fucking revolution, whatever the fuck you want to call it. You also have the fucking aristocratic billionaires who are the fascists who want to actually take over authoritarian style. You have your actual traditionalist, conservative, hyper-Christian people who are just anti-abortion. They want to have Christian nationalism, and these you also have fucking libertarians, and none of these things ideologically actually coalesce outside of their hatred of the Democrats, which is why the repeated line that you keep seeing over and over and over again is that Kamala Harris is a communist, and these dangerous liberal ideas. It's because they don't actually have ideological consistency. We have this fucking clusterfuck that's just trying to push all together, but they don't even agree on which direction they're going. And which is why you constantly have these things that don't make any sense, like Donald Trump. Project 2025 is his. That's his fucking ideology, except for the Christian shit. He's not fucking Christian. He doesn't give a flying fuck about Christian nationalism. He loves nationalism, hates Christian nationalism, but he has to make a bed with the Christian nationalists. And that's, that's why we have all these inconsistencies. That's why America fucking sucks. And the two-party system needs to be destroyed.
Yeah, the two-party system. We talk about that a lot, how it's unfortunate that, let's say, your two biggest issues are, I want say, really strong gun control measures or something. And then your other issue is that I am really against gay marriage or something. There's no party for that person. That party doesn't exist at all. You can't possibly vote for either the Democrats or the Republicans if those are your two major issues.
So,
go ahead.
So on this note, what about RFK Jr.? What about this? What about this development? If it's even a real development.
Superman Todd, you have spoken the secret word. That will
we love RFK. We love RFK. Go ahead. What'd you say?
I feel like everybody saw this coming, right? Are there people who are actually shocked that he's dropping out of the race tomorrow?
Did he officially do it yet?
He hasn't officially done it. No.
Okay.
He's supposed to address the nation tomorrow.
So there's two things on this. Is that we've always thought that RFK, especially when that phone call came out with Trump saying that, hey, and then remember that time his staffer admitted in that meeting that, yeah, our plan here is to be a spoiler for Biden. Like maybe we can siphon some Biden votes in New York. And he's always been a darling of the right wing. And it's why Trump didn't attack him early on, why he was always on like Steve Bannon's show and Joe Rogan's show and Sean Hannity's show. He's like any left wing bona fides he has evaporates once you move past like his environmentalist, his history as an environmental lawyer. That's it. And it has been weird, though, watching, because we did a story on the show a couple weeks ago, right, John, where he had reached out to the Harris campaign seeking a cabinet position for an endorsement. And I can't remember who mentioned the show, but yeah, he's a right winger, but he's also an opportunist, and he knows a sinking ship when he sees one. And so he's like, okay, I don't think there's any way Trump's going to win. So maybe Harris will throw me a bone. She told him to kick rocks. And he says, okay, well, I guess I'll go back to my people. And I haven't heard him officially say he's going to endorse Trump. His vice president pick said that they were thinking about doing that. But once again, like I feel like it's Casablanca here. I am shocked to discover there's gambling in this establishment. That's how I feel right now with this RFK thing. But I don't know about you, John. Were you thinking this guy was on the up and up the whole time? Old Bobby Kennedy Jr.
On the up and uppers, maybe. But
yeah, there you go.
I mean, I don't think that it's going to affect the election at all. And I know that's crazy to say about someone who currently is polling at 4%, but like everyone who was voting for him because they were a Democrat who couldn't conscionably vote for Biden has already moved to Kamala. That's about
True.
Half his following has left since Kamala entered the race. Then you have a segment who just hate both parties and want to vote for a viable third-party candidate. And once he's out of the race, I think that segment splits between people who will vote Trump, people who vote Kamala, and people who will just say, sayonara, I'm out of here. And then you have people who would go to Trump, but really, really their one issue was COVID for whatever reason in 2024. And they really hated the vaccine mandate, so they've been riding the RFK wagon. And they're going to vote for Trump like they always were going to anyway. So, like, I don't know. I don't think it's going to affect anything at all. I could be wrong. I think it's more likely that it helps Trump than that it hurts him. But I don't think it'll actually have an effect.
I was actually a little bit surprised how much support he lost when Harris was nominated. I knew there was a contingency of people who said, I'm not supporting. Then again, it's weird with third party folks because how many of them are actually going to vote third party when the election hits? You don't really know. Well, you don't. And I think that I always thought that a lot of these people, when it came for election day, if they actually cared, like if they actually cared who won, Trump or Biden or Trump or Harris, they would go with the person they wanted. But, there was a lot of malaise and people didn't want to support either candidate when it was Trump or Biden. And then like way more than I would have guessed actually have moved over to Harris, which, hey, good news on that front. And I think I like what Todd was saying here, that a lot of these folks just won't vote. Like they just it's kind of like when people would blame Jill Stein or something for not voting for Democrats. Like, no, those aren't Democrat voters. You can't get mad at them. They were never Democrats in the first place. And I think a lot of these folks that are supporting RFK, what's really great? I love now that, how people have been, or Republicans have been incensed on Joe Biden's behalf that the presidency was unceremoniously stolen from him. They're doing it with RFK too. Like, whoa, can you believe how badly the Democrats treated RFK? No wonder he's supporting Trump. Like they give a fuck about this. Like I can't stand the duplicity with that measure like that. But yeah, like with RFK's dropping out, I don't think it's enough to tip anything towards Trump. I don't. I mean, correction. I think it will. If I had to pick who would help, it'll help Trump more. But I don't think it's going to be enough to change the outcome of the election. Not with the momentum going the way it is, and the numbers RFK is pulling. And by the way, we need not forget RFK is on the ballot in like 6 states, and a lot of them aren't even important states. So like
most of the polling was not including him anyway. It was all head to head polling between Trump and Harris, and it's like you said, if the election were held today, maybe it would help Trump. but there's still 70 something days for people to watch him spiral downward. There's still tons of court hearings that have to happen. There's still sentencing that has to happen. There's still that hearing in Georgia where they have to go through the evidence of, what was president or what was official and what was non-official presidential conduct. I think that happens in September, right? There's nowhere that Trump goes from here but down. And we haven't seen the Harris uptick from the DNC. Like, she's going to go up after this week some more.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to get more money after this week. I don't think RFK. I feel like most people realize that thought that he was going to drop out at some point anyway, and it was just kind of like a protest type support anyway.
Mm-hmm.
See
what happens. We'll talk about it again next week on the Left Wing when RFK dropped out and we see what the polling is.
I love it. All right.
Got one last topic here,
let's do
fellas. It. And I absolutely loved the the thumbnail that TJ put for this live, the murder mouse. So if you haven't heard already, Disney, they had a very fun time recently where they killed someone. And this is the first time Disney killed someone. Disney's killed many people, don't get me wrong. But this person they killed by giving them something they were allergic to that they specifically asked not to have in their food. They served them. I don't know if it was at a Disney park or was it something owned by Disney. What was it?
It was in a Disney World.
Okay, yeah. And they died. And the widower, her husband, sued them, and they tried to get the case thrown out because he signed a contract for Disney Plus where he agreed to take any lawsuit with Disney to arbitration and couldn't be heard in the public courts. Now, to any common sense human being, that sounds absolutely insane. It sounds borderline dystopian. It sounds like something you would hear about in Black Mirror. There was literally, I don't know if you guys were South Park people. I loved South Park growing up. I don't think it's aged very well. But one episode that still ages well is the Human Sent iPad episode, where this was the premise of the show, where Cartman gets put into it was like Kyle or something, it doesn't matter. But like he gets put into a human centipede iPad and he just keeps not reading the terms and conditions and agreeing to more and more horrible shit happening to him. And it's like, why didn't you read the term and conditions? But that's what this is. Like, that's literally what this is. Can you imagine being a human being and arguing before a court that this person's wrongful death case about their wife should be thrown out because they signed up for a Disney Plus subscription? Real humans actually did that. And it happens all the time. Like, this is obviously a severe case. And Disney has gone and waived their right to arbitration because of how much backlash they were getting. But this happens all the time. The most recent evidence I could find showed that there are over 850 million arbitration agreements signed in America. That's more than two for every, I think more than three for every adult in America. We've all signed them. And it's insane because we have no other choice.
Yet 50% of Americans who sign them can't read above a 5th grade level.
Yeah. And it's a problem. And we always joke about it like, haha, but like it does actually affect things. And these companies get away literally with murder. And this one got publicity. But imagine all the ones that didn't. And this has happened many, many times. And it really, to me, this is one of those issues where it's like, guys, why do we keep letting this happen? It really only happens because no one talks about it, because we just ignore it. It's just like we ignore the fucking terms and conditions when we agree to them. And I don't think this is really a partisan issue. I don't see anyone in the political spectrum arguing that this should be a real thing that people do, and yet it is the case basically out of laziness. I don't know. Hey, have you guys seen any sort of like, hey, Disney's in the right here from any like crazy people? I don't know, but like it's such a widespread practice that someone's got to think it's right?
I think that it is going to have, widespread appeal to anyone on the political spectrum. However, if there's going to be any movement on it, the Republicans need to suggest it first. Because if a Democrat suggests this first, they're going to call it communism and be against it. Like, it. Like, I'm not being hyperbolic. That is exactly what is going to happen.
The courts are already bloated. They just want more government power. Yeah,
I mean, it's like, and I wish I was joking. Like, I delivered that completely straight. That will absolutely for a fact happen. And you can see this with like JD Vance. I know he's easy to shit on, but fuck that guy. But he was talking about, remember his proposal to, I'm coming back to the story, don't worry, I was a short tangent here, but the proposal, he said, well, we should let parents have extra votes for their kids, and maybe if you have kids, you shouldn't pay taxes or whatever. And Kamala Harris said, that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. And he said, I can't believe you're against the child tax credit, even though she's been publicly for the child tax credit for years.
And he voted against it.
Well, he didn't vote against it. He wasn't in the Senate at the time. So but every other every other Republican did, though. Like, all the Republicans voted against the child tax credit expansion. And it's like, okay, you guys are just saying this for partisan reasons. My favorite, so the story with this guy is that he and his wife went to Disney World, and they went to a restaurant that assured them that his wife's dairy allergy would be taken care of, and that, they did the responsible thing. Hey, my wife's had dairy allergy. They said, oh, don't worry, the food's fine. The food was not fine. She had an EpiPen. They administered the EpiPen, but it didn't save her. And by the time the medical assistants got there, they couldn't revive her, and she ended up dying. So Disney, he sued Disney, and it was for like $50K, I might add. It wasn't even a lot of right. I mean, but listen, I can tell you, man, Disney kills. They should have wrote listen, John and I were saying this yesterday. First off, pocket change. That is less than a rounding. They would have never noticed that money.
If they spend more than that on toilet paper.
You want 50 grand? Here's $1 million.
Here's $1 million, right? Yeah, right. You would never notice it, man. And so Disney says that you can't sue us, and you have to go through arbitration, because people keep saying it's because they signed up for Disney Plus. That's only kind of true. It was a 1-month trial to Disney Plus. They didn't even pay for the service, and they had the terms and conditions. And the one thing that's been bothering me about all these articles, so I can't stop reading about this. I can't, because it's just like none of it makes any sense at all. Disney is trying to dodge it by saying, the terms and conditions from the Disney Plus subscription, I hope the Mandalorian was worth it. And then they also said something like, listen, we only did this to protect ourselves, because it's not our fault. It was a restaurant that happened to be on Disney property. So, we should be exempt from this and, not look like monsters right here. And all the articles I read were talking about these, mile-long terms and conditions. And they all said most people don't read them. That's bullshit. Nobody reads them. Yeah. Like 0 people. Like, there is nobody out there who isn't paid to read that shit that reads that shit.
My fiance reads them.
Holy shit. Why?
And I had this conversation with her, and she was like, you don't read them? And I was like, are you fucking pranking me right now? Of course I don't. Right. No one reads them. She's like, I read them all the time. And I'm like, you're an insane person. I'm marrying an insane person.
Is she able to make sense of everything that's in there?
Right? Yeah.
I don't think I think for like those big ones, the giant long one, the fucking 1,000-page PDF, she doesn't read them. But she reads if it's like a 10-page document, she's fucking reading them.
Holy shit.
I don't know. She's not a lawyer. I don't think she understands it.
Most of it's too small to read with the naked eye. I mean, most of it is unreadable anyway. It's like the end of commercials where they start jabbering really fast to get the fine print. It's literally called fine print. She has eagle vision or something like that. But yeah, we shouldn't allow this to happen. We shouldn't. There's no reason that this bullshit that nobody bothers checking can, stop you from something wild like that. And of course, you're right, John, the publicity is what shamed them into doing this. But if the issue wasn't, so overblown and outstandingly ridiculous, they'd have gotten away with it. Like they probably have hundreds of times in the past. What do you think, Todd?
Yeah, I feel like I've come across some stuff previously, stories about how the terms and conditions of so many things are unreadable. Even like they'll print them out and give them to people who have graduated law school and say, make sense of this and tell us what this says. And a lot of times, like, even lawyers read these terms and conditions and can't comprehend what it says. But the average Joe, me, who's trying to get a Hulu account or Disney Plus, I'm supposed to be held legally accountable for something that you say I have to check in order to get your service or whatever. Like I have some sort of choice. I mean, there are all kinds of things in our lives that we have to have access to, that we have no choice. Like even like at our job or something, where it's like, hey, we use this, this service, and you've got to have it for your job. Well, it has terms and conditions that you have to check. I don't know where do we go from here, but I cannot be held liable for the fact that I had to check that thing to get a Disney Plus account, and then you can kill me on your theme park and just say go screw yourself because you got a $20 subscription to Disney Plus. That's crazy.
I just want to add here. Like, I can't help but picture like this guy. He dies, goes to heaven, sees his wife. She's just waiting there for him. It's like $50,000. That's it.
I know
that $50,000. Like,
yeah, kinder man than me. Like, I don't know. Maybe he was like, I just want the money to pay for the expenses. No, fucking take them to the cleaners, man. It's Disney. They're monsters. They're the Vought of this world, essentially. Like, I remember when Disney bought Star Wars, they bought ABC, they bought ESPN, they bought Marvel. Disney owns something like, it's over a majority. Like, it's like 53% of all entertainment is owned by one company, which should not be legal. So yeah, they need to be taken down a peg anyway. I don't know if you guys remember this story from a few years ago when a boy died and he wanted Spider-Man carved on his tombstone, on his gravestone. And Disney stopped them from doing it. They made him take down his Spider-Man, gravestone because they own Spider-Man. Well, kinda. They split it with Disney, really, and they said, "Nope, you can't do that, Dad. Sorry about your dead kid. We need that Spider-Man tombstone." So, like, these are the people we're dealing with here. These aren't human beings that should be taken seriously. Like, they need to be. I know we got Marxists and stuff listening, but you guys, I've never felt more vindicated. Kyle says, I read terms and conditions. What the fuck is going on? Like,
this is how I felt. DJ, this is how I felt when she told me she read them. I was just like, you have to be joking.
What I want to know.
I believe you sort of, but how?
Here's what I want to know. John, ask your fiance this, and Kyle answers this. Well, maybe you'll mention it, but why read the terms and conditions? Have you ever read them? It's like, nope, sorry, I'm not going to use this smartphone because of the terms and conditions.
Kyle, I need you to answer that question.
Because every smartphone, every computer, every video service, every internet service, like everything you read has 4,000 terms and conditions, and you're telling me it fucking matters what it says? Because I'd like to know, like, what are the red flags in there? That you say, no, well, here it says, no ex post facto law or bill of attainder will allow me to sue this company if injury befalls myself or my family member. Get the fuck out. I don't. It seems like a waste of time to read these things. Well, let's see what he says. I read terms and conditions. If something isn't in regular English or is ambiguous, you can argue in court. A reasonable person wouldn't assume you could get away with this. Reasonable person standard and context of the document are all factors. I mean, that doesn't matter, like, if you read it or not, though. That's true. You can fight these in court, but you read them.
Like what Kyle's saying is true, but like, is the average person really going to be able to like afford that lawsuit against Disney?
That's the thing.
Argue this and go through
exactly.
They're just going to go to arbitration. That's much cheaper for them.
Yeah, and the reading is superfluous at that point. Like, whether you read it or not, you can still make that argument. The guy could easily say that was in the context of a Disney Plus account, therefore Disney backed off anyway, but that's only because it was Vought is meant to be a combination of Disney and Boeing. Okay, I didn't know that. That does make sense, though, because they on the show, they have all like their phase 1, 2, 3, and 4 and everything. But it has to be a pharmaceutical company, too. Because VOD is mainly a pharmaceutical. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But get deep in the weeds on there. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's every corporate conglomerate. Like that's just all.
Yeah, that story was insane, man. Like when I saw it, I was like, God damn it, man. Because like we were saying before, the bad press from this alone, you think would have stopped people from, kicking themselves in the face like that. I don't understand it.
How is Ron DeSantis not all over this?
Oh, because there's no gayness involved. Because there's because no dudes are fucking dudes, and so he has nothing to give. This is what I'm saying. Like Republicans, it's funny when they say they're anti-corporation and everything, and they say, "Oh, can you believe what Disney's doing?" I thought you lefties were against corporations. It's kind of like when they jumped on us for saying, "Hey, vaccines are good." Wild take. Oh, so you support big pharma? It's just. Oh, they're dumb and opportunistic and just like duplicitous on all fronts. I quickly run out of patience for conservatives over the last couple of years. Like doing social media will do that to you, but yeah, any that was left is pretty much all gone away by now. All right, good shit.
And
good
that
shit.
is our show, people. Superman Todd, how did you like it?
Oh, that's great. I appreciate you guys having me on wherever you do. Y'all are way smarter than me, so I stay.
Stop it!
He always says this, TJ. He always says this. Butters us up.
Oh God! Wait, so well, we got to do our bumper before we go. Ty, are you an 05?
I'm a major. I'm an 04.
Oh, 04. Okay. Oh God. Oh no. Oh, so are you in operations then?
I'm actually an officer candidate school commander.
Oh, okay. That could be a fun gig. All right, because I know S3 could. Ooh, I felt kind of bad if you were stuck there or whatever. But that's kind of cool. All right, we got to do a bumper for Superman Todd in the show here, Don.
Yeah, Todd. So I'm gonna introduce that. I'm gonna throw to you. You're gonna say where people can find you outside of being a wonderful guest on the Left Wing, of course. And then TJ will close us out.
Okay. Yeah. I'm Superman Todd.
Oh, wait.
John go first. Yeah,
I'm going to say a little intro, and
and
then you're going to do that. I understand the confusion, though. Like it took him. I was paused for like half a second. He's like, "Wait, did he mean like now?" Okay, I'm just going to go. My bad.
Wait, real quick before you start. Dirty Bubble said terms and conditions are kind of gay, to be honest. Good news, so are we. All right, let's go. let's head on over to the bumper.
All right. Okay, you officially made it to the end of the episode, sponsored by the one and only Scott's Hamburgers in Bixby, Oklahoma. While you are at Scott's Hamburgers, you should definitely look up our wonderful guest, Superman Todd. Superman Todd, how about you tell our audience where they can find you?
Hey, I'm just on TikTok as Superman Todd 2. This is my second account. First one got banned a couple years ago. So come out there and follow me, kind of known as the Southern Liberal. So go follow me, and I appreciate it.
We appreciate you, Superman Todd. He's the Southern Liberal. He's the only one, or he's the best one, I guess. Like, so yeah, make sure you follow his account. Folks, we appreciate it. I was going to make a joke about Scott's Hamburgers, and John beat me to it. So I got nothing for you now, folks. I know it's kind of my thing, but peace out. We'll catch you next time.
I